Welcome to That's So Clutch, an automotive podcast that bridges the gap between car industry experts and those who are not. Hello everyone, welcome to the very first episode of That's So Clutch. I'm Alini, your host, and today I'm joined with Cody Penna, the Fixed Operations Director at Austin Subaru and Austin INFINITI. How are you doing?
I'm a little nervous, but thanks for having me.
Well, don't be nervous. This is going to be really fun. So let me just start off by saying you have quite the track record. You started in the business in 2009.
Yep.
2009. By 23, you were a master tech at First Texas Honda.
Yep.
You're a UTI graduate.
Yep.
And you've been the Fixed Operations Director for 3 of the largest dealerships in the nation.
Yeah.
That
it's a little
is
scarier
wild.
when you say it out loud, yeah.
Well, and you've barely just gotten to your 30s, so that's crazy. I feel like a lot of people don't get to that point.
Fair enough.
So you basically know cars.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you work on cars outside of work?
Lawnmowers, motorcycles, cars, small engines, equipment. Yeah, it's a.
How many cars do you
hobby.
think you've worked on? I guessed at least 100.
No, it's like tens of thousands, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Since when? Like
So
18?
2006.
So you were like
half my life ago. Yeah.
Well, and you're about to get another one, right, that you're about to work on.
Yeah, but I mean, that's never ending. I'm responsible for my entire family tree and lineage as cars. Every person that's ever met me, like, my phone is constantly like, hey, I have a question, which is good because I feel responsible for that. When you dedicate your life to, like, learning about cars and knowing a lot of stuff, I'd hate for somebody to get bad advice or ask somebody else that's going to steer them in the wrong direction. So it's like a mission for me to be the car guy for everybody.
So did you always want to be in the car industry?
Believe it or not, no. I was convinced when my hair was down to here that I was going to be a professional musician.
No way you had hair that long.
So I was in like metal bands and stuff. I play guitar as a second hobby, which I wish I'd dedicated more time to, but whatever. But yeah, so back then, if you'd asked me if you time traveled, I would be like, yeah, I'm going to go on tour with my band. So anyway.
So my question for you is it better to get serviced at a dealership or a random body shop off the side of the street?
So it's a bit of a loaded question because say you have a car that's specialized, like something that's really old or really unique or isn't supported, which there's a lot of, brands that don't exist anymore. You kind of don't really have a choice but to go to an independent.
Yeah.
Which build a relationship with that person. A lot of great small businesses out there, a lot of people that represent those niche car brands really well. But in terms of the regular person's car, would you rather go to the doctor that works on feet for your kidney or the doctor that works on kidneys for your kidney? I want somebody specialized that's seen my car before, seen my problem before, understands what's going on with this specific type of vehicle to work on my car.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of bad stigma with dealerships. I feel like a lot of people think it's more expensive and you're going to get probably more scam there because it's a dealership. So is it more expensive?
So this is a fun question. I'll try to unpack it without going on a tangent, but I'm notorious for that, so stop me if I go there.
Okay, but, I will.
I know this sounds crazy, but there was a time before the internet, right?
Right.
Impossible to believe I was there.
I wouldn't know.
I was there, yeah. But before the internet, it was really difficult to basically tell your town square that you had a poor experience or share feedback about how a particular business, whether it's cars or food or whatever.
Yeah.
The automotive industry did earn its bad rap by some places doing the things that they shouldn't have done, and it took so long for information to travel, pre-internet and pre-reviews that that type of negative experience was not talked about. The playing field's level now, which I really like, so to operate at a high standard, if you don't, everyone knows in 15 minutes.
Literally.
So in terms of doing a bad job, charging too much, being unfair, offering poor treatment or poor quality work, that doesn't survive anymore. As much as it still can happen in little pockets here and there, if that is truly happening in an establishment, especially automotive, when the voice is so loud for the consumer, which I love because it keeps everybody kind of in check and focused on what really matters, you don't get away with it.
Yeah, you don't. Cancel culture's out there.
Surely there's, I know, geez, that's a whole nother conversation. But surely there are some people that are not doing the best work, but it is not common for some place to exist at a large scale without being held accountable. So the tables have turned for sure. Did I get off topic or did I answer it?
A little bit.
Okay.
But it's
Feel
okay.
free to reel me back in.
It's okay. I was just saying, like, do you think it's more expensive? I know it's biased because you're obviously the fixed operations director, all that. So you're right there. But why would you say come here even if it is more expensive?
I'll use an oil change as an example, right?
Okay.
Everyone immediately thinks like, if I go to the dealer, the oil change is going to be 3 times as much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I will offer a counter argument that since we are a dealership that's designed to provide more than just one particular service, that isn't a sole secret revenue stream for us. Yes, we are going to provide high quality materials, which do have a cost associated.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that we're going to perform. So a lot of the other services are typically where, as a department or as a business, we are going to be generating our income, right? Going off on a tangent again, I'll stop. The oil change place, they don't have the other opportunities, the skill, the people, or the technology to perform other services. So they have to get their money from that oil change from you. So what do? They post online that it's going to be $40 for some makes and models and put 17 asterisks underneath the offering, like synthetic not included, up to 4 quarts, and most modern vehicles have 6 to 7 quarts. If you have a fancy car like our cameraman over there, it takes like 10 quarts of oil. That costs money, right?
Yeah.
So once you get there, the conversation's completely different. It's like, oh, we didn't know that you had an Audi. We didn't realize that you had a turbo synthetic oil Honda Civic, et cetera. And that oil is way more expensive, and guess what? You leave out of that place for just an oil change with no information, no support, no warranty, no backing, and you paid more for the service with way less to show for it.
So for oil, does it actually matter how, like, because I know there's different oils.
I led myself right into that question.
Yeah,
so,
I know there's different ones, and of course it matters for different cars, but does it actually matter?
So the brand of the oil does not matter, and I'm probably going to catch some feedback from some really scientific people. Sorry in advance for that, but the most important thing, especially now with service intervals being so far extended to reduce the need to bring the cars in, to be more nice to the earth and use the oil longer, et cetera. There's a lot of benefits to stretching the service interval out. That requires a fully synthetic oil because it can withstand the beating that it's going to take for 8, 10, 12,000 miles, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a vehicle with a turbocharger, which I won't nerd out too much about that, but the demand on that particular oil is much higher. You have to use the specific viscosity. Surely you've heard of like the 5W30 or like 10W40 or 0W.
I haven't.
Okay,
so
cool.
Explain it.
Well, they measure oil in different weights and viscosities and rank it based on its ability to perform under different temperatures.
Okay.
So that has to be adhered to. But the cool thing is it's regulated. So if the oil exists on the planet and it's being sold in a bottle, it's gone through what's called API certification. I think that's the technical term. So it has to hold up to the viscosity and the temperature rating that it says on the bottle. As long as you have those numbers right and it's synthetic or not synthetic based on what your vehicle requires, you're pretty safe. But there's a lot of marketing ploys out there like royal purple. The oil is like legitimately has food coloring in it, so it's purple. And it's like,
no way.
I swear to God, it's like $12 more.
Why do they do that?
It's cool. It's a marketing thing, but the oil itself comes from the ground.
Get this purple oil in your car.
Yeah, it's old dinosaur bones. It's been refined from probably one of the 3 main oil refineries that exist. It has the same detergent properties that are required for the oil to exist by SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, which is like a regulatory team for car stuff. So it's the same. Sorry.
So it basically does not matter.
Yeah, but it has to be the viscosity and synthetic or non-synthetic based on what the car requires. That's the caveat.
Okay. Another question that I've got before is, why do you have to get your tires rotated?
Ooh, don't they rotate when you drive? I'm just totally kidding.
Well, that's the argument all the
Sorry
time.
for
It's
the
always
dad
like,
joke.
they're already rotating, so why do I have to get it rotated? But I feel like
Okay.
there's more to it, obviously.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited to answer this question. So
Here we go.
You have 4 wheels traditionally, right?
Yep.
And most cars, unless you're a Lamborghini, Ferrari, or McLaren owner or something, the engine is in the front, right?
Yeah.
So the majority of the vehicle's weight is over the front axle, the 2 front wheels. In addition to the majority of the vehicle's weight being over the 2 front wheels, you are also steering the car with those 2 front wheels, and you're stopping the car with those 2 front wheels. Imagine you're those tires, right? You're doing all that work all
They're
the
just,
time.
like,
You got all the weight. You're
dying.
carrying the team on your back, right? You
Yeah.
got the engine on top of you. You're constantly turning and weaving in and out of Austin traffic with no turn signals like everybody does.
Yeah,
And slam on your
literally.
brakes last minute because you're not paying attention to traffic anyway.
The
Those front-
I-35
Those front tires are getting just annihilated. That's a hard life, right? So if you leave them there, they're going to wear. They're made of rubber, of course, and it's hot outside and all those other environmental factors. Those tires are working like 500 times as hard as the back tires that are literally just following along. Because all they're doing is trailing. Unless you're hauling stuff with a truck, the rear tires or the vehicle's rear-wheel drive and has a lot of horsepower, the rear tires have a much easier job. So to preserve the life of all of your tires, every time you get your oil changed, which is nowadays, that's like 10,000 miles, which could be once a year. It's a long time for those tires to be traveling.
Except for me, because I drive a shit ton.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm the opposite. My tires they get old and crackly before they get worn because I just go from work and back. So I'm a nerd. I have a life outside of here. So anyway.
So is that the same with electric vehicles too?
Man, you're good at this. Have you done this before?
No, this is my very first day out here.
So, spoiler alert to the people that think they're saving the world with their electric car.
Oh, here we go.
It weighs like 1 million pounds. Legitimately, you're familiar with like a Ford F-350, right? Like
yeah.
the ginormous truck that's wider than the lanes. Those are like 10,000 pounds. A Tesla with the doors that do the crazy thing, those are like almost 10,000 pounds too. Imagine what
Seriously?
those poor
just because of the battery?
Because of the battery and the electric motors. It's just metal.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Those tires are getting and all 4 of them are getting annihilated because it's flat, the weight's on the bottom. So they're accelerating from all 4 wheels most of the time too. But those tires have a way harder time and last a fraction of the life that tires on a conventional vehicle would last because of the sheer weight and how much power they have because those things are like rocket ships.
Wow.
Yeah, so rotating your tires helps, but you can't avoid the fact that you're driving a dump truck that goes 200 miles an hour. So, yeah, they're very heavy.
So going back to service real quick, my question for you is when people go in to get their service, what's costing customers more? Is it the work, like the labor, or is it the parts?
I think the most relatable answer to this question for a modern vehicle and a modern vehicle owner is every year technology is like exponentially increasing in complexity and also simplicity, which is another conversation. But typically when you have a vehicle, it has a bunch of different systems, right? And a lot of those systems historically have been serviceable. Like there's a couple of wires that go to a part, then a couple more wires that go to another part, and all of those parts along that line, you can replace them individually. To save costs on manufacturing, and just because it's simply better and more economical, a lot of these systems are now condensed into units, right?
Okay.
So you have a really high-powered computer with a ton of jobs that's one unit. Well, that system used to comprise of 7 or 8 different things that would in total cost $7,000. I'm just using arbitrary numbers.
Yeah.
The problem now is if you have a unit failure instead of a component failure, you don't have the choice to service that particular component or pick one of those small pieces in that chain. You have to replace the entire unit for most things. And these units are specific to vehicles. You have to buy it for your trim level, your particular car. And that skyrockets the price of repairs for parts. Most of the time, those units are a connector, a couple of bolts, and maybe a reprogramming procedure. But since a lot of things are being condensed into one now, it can make the parts extremely expensive. But at the end of the day, it's still a machine. It still has an engine, as long as it's not a Tesla. And there's a lot of labor-intensive items that are within those systems. But as technology continues to kind of ramp up, parts pricing and unit pricing is just a product of technology and the times.
In summary,
get an extended warranty. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's pretty necessary to get a service done, regardless, right?
So the most expensive thing you could do to a car is ignore the regular maintenance, to answer your question in one sentence.
Because I feel like I have some friends that are like, oh, I'll just put off this oil change, or like they're too afraid to go because they don't have the money to do it, or they're afraid of getting scammed. And then I'm like, you're just hurting yourself more.
Yeah, and there's a lot of psychology to that. And I think about my role in the industry and my role in my family as the person that is educated about vehicles and maintenance. And I have this spiel for the bad news breaking, which kind of is our whole job. Nobody's excited to I can't wait to find out what's wrong with my car. But I think I've said this sentence 100 times, but the only thing worse for me as an automotive professional to tell you what's wrong with your car, right? It's expensive. I'm sorry. It's going to take 3 days to fix. We have to get the parts from another country.
Yeah.
The only thing worse than breaking that bad news is not telling you and then something happening that you could have prevented for. So it's like burying your head in the sand. You can ignore if you have problems in your life. You can ignore if you don't like somebody. It's like, oh, I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're going to have to face those people. So with your car,
Exactly.
when you're in a retail automotive setting like we are, I know it's not fun to hear that your prized possession, often your second most expensive thing that you own, second to a house, right, needs work. But the worst thing ever I could ever do, knowing that I could help save you money in the future, is just ignore it because I know it's hard to hear right now.
Yeah.
So routine maintenance, staying ahead of things before they catastrophically fail. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer, but you asking the question makes it, pretty real that people are considering like just not doing it because it's inconvenient or scary or whatever.
Well, I feel like especially the younger generation. We read a book in my work team. It's called Zeconomy, and the biggest topic was that the younger generation, especially like Gen Z, are afraid to confront like what's going on, or like they won't even answer a phone call because they're like
I'd
so
rather
afraid.
text you.
Yeah, like I'd rather send an email or text you. I'd rather not have like a person-to-person communication. Rather just go through your phone or your laptop. But going off of that, what services can you do at home that won't hurt you financially and won't hurt the car?
So back to my joke earlier about the world existing without the internet. There was a time when you could not go on YouTube and ask how to do something and get a beautiful, like, documented step-by-step, which is incredible,
and, like,
right?
thousands of them, not just one.
Yeah,
like,
you
literally
get, like,
anyone can go on there.
I want it to be from this part of the country or with this backing track. Like, you have all the options for information, right? But there are so many simple maintenance items that I encourage you, just as a person on planet Earth, to become familiar with, because it could really save you if you're in a pinch or in an area where you don't have the opportunity to get service. Things as simple as changing a flat tire. I know, coming from me, that sounds rudimentary, but say you're on the side of the road for the first time ever, and you're trying to find where your spare is for the first time ever when cars are rushing by you. There's not a lot of clarity and not a lot of comfort in that situation, right?
Nope.
So
very scary.
You would much rather have already taken that spare. Oh, I know where it is. Awesome. And then you see the jack, and it's this weird little contraption that looks like a Lego set, and you're like, well, this thing can't lift my car up off the ground, right? So little things like that, being familiar with where things are located on your car. I love watching just boring car videos about like basically going through the owner's manual. And since I've never done this before on YouTube, my only YouTube guy I watch is Doug DeMuro, so shout out to him for making the best car content I've ever seen.
I'll have to see that.
He does like regular car reviews and talks about the quirks and features, and there's a lot of people out there that dig that, and it's helped me with so many cars that I like. So back to my little spiel here about changing the tire. If you would have done that in the safety of your flat driveway with, jack stands and all the proper equipment, if you happen to be in that situation, it's okay. It's annoying. It's like, oh, I don't want to get dirty. I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to miss this event, etc. But at least hey, when I get this weird little jack out, I know where to put it on the bottom of my car where it's not going to hurt the car or me, most importantly, and I have the confidence to take care of this. And there's so many good videos that show you how to do things like that. Changing air filters, changing your own oil if you're, confident enough to do that, and you have just a couple of basic hand tools. I mean, everyone deserves to know what that's like, even if it's just once for the sake of doing it. You don't have to take your car every time, put it in your driveway, jack it up, do all that work. But I think it's extremely important for everyone, no matter who you are, to expose yourself to basic car maintenance because it really removes the veil from how scary it could potentially be. And it's kind of fun, too.
I feel like it relieves the pressure for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, to close this off, I just have one more question.
Ooh.
If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Cut my hair. People would take me a lot more serious. Yeah.
Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for joining That's So Clutch. If you have any questions about the automotive industry that you'd like answered, please leave them down below or email Cody. Well, thanks for joining. See you later.